Suella Braverman is a British barrister and politician who has served as Home Secretary since October 25, 2022. She previously held the position from September 6 to October 19, 2022 under Liz Truss. A member of the Conservative Party, she was chair of the European Research Group from 2017 to 2018 and Attorney General for England and Wales from 2020 to 2022. She has been the Member of Parliament for Fareham in Hampshire since 2015. In the January 2018 cabinet reshuffle, she was appointed Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for exiting the European Union by Theresa May. She resigned in protest against May's draft Brexit withdrawal agreement. Braverman was appointed Attorney General for England and Wales and Advocate General for Northern Ireland by Boris Johnson in the February 2020 cabinet reshuffle. She was appointed as Queen's Counsel automatically on her appointment. After Johnson resigned in July 2022, Braverman stood as a candidate to succeed him in the July-September Conservative Party leadership election, but was eliminated from the ballot after the second round of voting. She subsequently supported Liz Truss's bid to become Conservative leader, and was appointed Home Secretary on September 6, 2022 when Truss became Prime Minister. Braverman resigned as Home Secretary on October 19, 2022 after she breached the ministerial code by sending sensitive information using her personal email address. She was reinstated as Home Secretary 6 days later by Truss's successor as Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. Early life and education. Braverman was born in Harrow, Greater London, and raised in Wembley. She is the daughter of Uma and Christy Fernandez, both of Indian origin, who emigrated to Britain in the 1960s from Mauritius and Kenya respectively. She is named after the character Sue Ellen Ewing from the American television soap opera Dallas, which was popular at the time of her birth. Her mother, of Hindu Tamil Mauritian descent, was a nurse and a counsellor in Brent, as well as the Conservative candidate in Tottenham in the 2001 general election and the 2003 Brent East by-election. Her father, of Goan ancestry, worked for a housing association. She is the niece of Mayan Kundasamy, a former Mauritian High Commissioner to London. She attended the Uxendon Manor Primary School in Brent and the fee-paying Heathfield School, Pinner, on a partial scholarship, after which she read law at Queen's College, Cambridge. During her undergraduate studies, she was president of the Cambridge University Conservative Association. Braverman lived in France for 2 years, as an Erasmus program student and then as an Entente Cordiale scholar, where she studied a master's degree in European and French law at Pantheon-Sorbonne University. Career. Braverman was called to the bar at Middle Temple in 2005. She completed pupillage at 2-3 Gray's Inn Square but did not start tenancy there, beginning practice at the London branch of a large Birmingham set, No5 Chambers. She worked in litigation including the Judicial Review Basics for a Government Practitioner of Immigration and Planning Law. She passed the New York Bar exam in 2006 and was thereafter licensed to practice law in the state. That license was suspended in 2021 after she did not re-register as an attorney. She was appointed to the Attorney General's C panel of counsel, the entry-level, undertaking basic government cases, in 2010. Conservative candidate. Braverman's name was already on the list of Conservative parliamentary candidates at the time of the 2003 Brent East by-election, and she had to be persuaded not to seek the nomination. Her mother, Uma Fernandez, a Conservative councillor, was selected to fight the seat, and Braverman campaigned for her. During the campaign, Braverman was featured in The Guardian in an article titled The Road to No 10. At the 2005 general election, Braverman contested Leicester East, finishing in second place behind Labour's Keith Vaz, who won with a 15,876 vote majority. She sought selection as the Conservative candidate in Bexhill and Battle, but was unsuccessful, and was eventually selected to be the Conservative candidate in Fareham. Braverman also sought election to the London Assembly at the 2012 Assembly elections and was placed fourth on the Conservative London-wide list. Only the first three Conservative candidates were elected. Parliamentary activity. Braverman was elected to the House of Commons as the MP for Fareham in 2015 with 56.1% of the vote and a majority of 22,262. She gave her maiden speech on June 1, 2015. She has taken a particular interest in education, home affairs, and justice and has written for the Daily Telegraph, Bright Blue, iNews, HuffPost, Brexit Central and Conservative Home. From 2015 to 2017, Braverman was a member of the Education Select Committee and the Education, Skills, and the Economy Subcommittee. Between November 2015 and February 2016, she was a member of the Joint Committee on the Draft Investigatory Powers Bill. Braverman chaired the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Financial Education for Young People from September 2016 to May 2017. Working with the charity Young Enterprise and the money-saving expert journalist Martin Lewis, she led the APPG's inquiry into the provision of financial education in schools and launched its report, Financial Education in Schools, 2 Years on Job Done, which called for better financial education in schools. Braverman was also a commissioner on the Social Market Foundation Commission on Inequality in Education, a cross-party initiative examining the causes and effects of inequality in education at primary and secondary levels in England and Wales. Braverman joined the Armed Forces Parliamentary Scheme in 2016, graduating from the scheme in 2017. Braverman opened a Westminster Hall debate in the House of Commons on the failings of Southern Health NHS Foundation Trust and has chaired meetings with the Trust's executives along with other MPs on the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Hampshire, in which instances of poor care quality and the deaths of patients were investigated. Braverman was a member of the panel of an inquiry, led by the think tank British Future, to examine how the government could protect the rights of EU citizens in the UK. Braverman campaigned to leave the European Union in the 2016 EU membership referendum. A majority of votes in her constituency were for leaving. She was chair of the European Research Group, a pro-leave group of Conservative MPs. Until her promotion to ministerial office, she was replaced by Jacob Rees-Mogg. Following the 2017 general election, Braverman was appointed Parliamentary Private Secretary to the Ministers of the Treasury. During the January 2018 reshuffle, Braverman was appointed as Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State at the Department for Exiting the European Union. On November 15, 2018, Braverman resigned on the same day that Davis' successor, Dominic Raab, resigned as Brexit Secretary in protest at Theresa May and Ollie Robbins's draft Brexit deal, which was released the day before. In March 2019, Braverman stated in a speech for the Bruges Group that as Conservatives, we are engaged in a battle against cultural Marxism. Journalist Don Foster challenged Braverman's use of the term cultural Marxism, highlighting its anti-Semitic history and stating it was a theory in the manifesto of the mass murderer Anders Breivik. Braverman's use of the term was initially condemned as hate speech by other MPs, the Board of Deputies of British Jews and the anti-racist organisation Hope Not Hate, among other anti-racist charities. Braverman denied that the term was an anti-Semitic trope, saying, "We have culture evolving from the far left which has allowed the snuffing out of freedom of speech, freedom of thought. I'm very aware of that ongoing creep of cultural Marxism, which has come from Jeremy Corbyn." After meeting with her later, the Board of Deputies of British Jews said in a subsequent statement that she is not in any way anti-Semitic, saying it believed that she did not intentionally use anti-Semitic language, while finding that she is clearly a good friend of the Jewish community and that they were sorry to see that the whole matter has caused distress. Attorney General In the February 13, 2020 reshuffle, Braverman was appointed Attorney General for England and Wales and Advocate General for Northern Ireland, succeeding Geoffrey Cox, who had been dismissed from government. Braverman was made QC at the time of this appointment as a courtesy. She was later criticised by members of the Bar Council for her poor choices in the role. Braverman was designated as a minister on leave while pregnant on March 2, 2021, shortly after the Ministerial and Other Maternity Allowances Act 2021 was enacted to allow this arrangement. Michael Ellis became acting Attorney General until she resumed office on September 11, 2021. Leadership candidate. During the July 2022 United Kingdom government crisis, Braverman remained a minister, though on July 6, 2022, she called for Boris Johnson to resign. She stood in the ensuing Conservative Party leadership election, but was eliminated from the race in the second round of ballots, winning 27 votes, a reduction on her vote in the first round and the lowest of the remaining candidates. She then endorsed Liz Truss. Had she succeeded in being appointed Prime Minister, Braverman said her priorities would have been to deliver tax cuts, cut government spending, tackle the cost of living challenges, solve the problem of boats crossing the Channel, deliver Brexit opportunities, withdraw the UK from the European Convention of Human Rights and to get rid of all of this woke rubbish. She also vowed to suspend the UK's target of net zero carbon emissions by 2050. In August 2022, The Guardian reported that Braverman's leadership campaign had received a £10,000 donation from a company owned by the climate change denier Terence Mordaunt. Home Secretary. Braverman was appointed Home Secretary in the new Truss Ministry on September 6, 2022. In October 2022, Braverman said that she would love to see a front page of the Daily Telegraph sending asylum seekers to Rwanda and described it as her dream and obsession. The first attempted flight by the UK to send asylum seekers to Rwanda in June 2022 resulted in asylum seekers being restrained and attached to plane seats after self-harming and threatening suicide. On the matter, the UN Refugee Agency have said that the arrangement, which amongst other concerns seeks to shift responsibility and lacks necessary safeguards, is incompatible with the letter and spirit of the 1951 Convention in regards to the rights of refugees. Later Amber Rudd, a former Conservative Home Secretary, criticized the plans to send some asylum seekers to Rwanda as brutal and impractical. Braverman left her cabinet position as Home Secretary on October 19, 2022. She said that her departure was because she had made an honest mistake by sharing an official document from her personal email address with a colleague in Parliament, an action which breached the ministerial code. Braverman was also highly critical of Truss's leadership in her resignation letter. Reappointment as Home Secretary. Political and legal positions. Braverman stands on the right wing of the Conservative Party, is a supporter of Brexit, supports the withdrawal of the UK from the European Convention on Human Rights and supports sending cross-channel migrants to Rwanda. She has said, "If I get trolled and I provoke a bad response on Twitter, I know I'm doing the right thing." Twitter is a sewer of left-wing bile. The extreme left pile on is often a consequence of sound conservative values. Legacy of the British Empire. Braverman has described herself as a child of the British Empire. Her parents, who were from Mauritius and Kenya, came to the UK with an admiration and gratitude for what Britain did for Mauritius and Kenya, and India. She believes that on the whole, the British Empire was a force for good, and described herself as being proud of the British Empire. Free schools. Braverman was the founding chair of governors at the Michaela Community School, and supports plans to create a free school in Fairham. She sits on the advisory board of the New Schools Network, a charity which aims to support groups setting up free schools within the English state education sector. Rights versus responsibilities. In a December 2015 op-ed, Braverman wrote, in essence, rights have come to fill the space once occupied by generosity. She quoted Eric Posner's theories on what the Brazilian state sees as its right to use torture by the police in the name of crime prevention. They justify this by putting a general right to live free from crime and intimidation above their rights of those who are tortured. She closed. To correct the imbalance, perhaps we should adopt a universal declaration of responsibilities and duties, to be read in tandem with that on human rights? A fair, decent, and reasonable society should question the dilution of our sense of duty, the demotion of our grasp of responsibility and our virtual abandonment of the spirit of civic obligation. What we do for others should matter more than the selfish assertion of personal rights and the lonely individualism to which it gives rise. Transgender rights. In an interview with The Times, Braverman said that schools do not have to accommodate requests from students who wish to change how others recognize their gender, including the use of the pronouns, uniforms, lavatories, and changing facilities of their identified gender if it differs from their sex. She argued that, legally, under 18s are entitled to be treated only by the gender corresponding to their sex, and that the unquestioning approach adopted by some teachers and schools is the reason different parts of the country have very different rates of children presenting as transgender. India trade deal. Braverman, who is of Indian heritage, said that she feared a trade deal with India would increase migration to the UK when Indians already represented the largest group of people who overstayed their visa. Legal contribution accusations. Braverman's details on the NO5 Chambers website said that she is a contributor to Philip Colvin QC's book Gambling for Local Authorities, Licensing, Planning and Regeneration. The Observer had questioned this in 2020 and, in October 2022, The Big Issue reported Colvin saying that she did not make a written or editorial contribution to the book, but simply on one occasion I asked her to do some photocopying for the book. Braverman's parliamentary office, the Home Office and NO5 Chambers all declined to comment, but the claim was removed from the website after The Big Issue had inquired. The secret barrister told The Big Issue, for a practicing barrister to include on a Chambers profile something which is not merely an exaggeration but knowing false, is the type of dishonest conduct that should rightly attract the attention of the Bar Standards Board. It was later reported by Private Eye that the Bar Standards Board was investigating a complaint that she had made a dishonest statement out of self-interest to promote her career. The Eye also reported that her MP's website had said that she was involved in the lengthy Guantanamo Bay inquiry into the treatment of detainees by US and UK forces, although her name does not appear in the inquiry report, and suggested she may merely have been one of scores of lawyers who had sifted through documents. Personal life. She married Rael Braverman, a manager of the Mercedes Group, in February 2018 at the House of Commons. Speaking to a meeting of the Asian Jewish Business Network in 2021, Braverman described her husband as a very proud member of the Jewish community and stated his family are contributors to the Bushi Synagogue. They have 2 children, born in 2019 and 2021. Braverman is a member of the Trier Atna Buddhist community and attends the London Buddhist Centre monthly. She took her oath of office on the Dhammapada honors. She was sworn in as a member of Her Majesty's Most Honourable Privy Council on February 19, 2020 at Buckingham Palace. This gave her the honorific prefix the Right Honourable. She was appointed as Queen's Counsel on February 24, 2020.